Hello YouTube, hope you're doing fantastic, and today I will give you the 14.24 jungle tier list, what champions are good, what on those champions are good, what I would recommend you to do, and just give you my thoughts on the entire patch and on the tier list. I'm a challenger player with 1300 LP, challenger since 8 years, former rank 1 player and climbing to rank 1 right now again, currently around rank, I think, 25, something like that. And now I'm gonna give you my thoughts on the new patch. If you are wondering what this light is here, it's just the Holy Spirit who is with us. Okay, let's get it started.
My blade is yours.
This is 14.25, and we're just gonna start right away with our main champion, of course, Master Yi. Master Yi actually got buffed. He just got buffed. I'm also going to explain what the changes is with the patch notes. We can do this more often. If you're interested, I can do patch note tier lists regularly. Just write it in the comments below if you're interested in seeing that from me consistently. Now, Master Yi, his critical strike scaling from 35% to 49% with Infinity Edge, 56.25 to 86.25% with Infinity Edge. This is very interesting for the crit build. As you know, Blade of Rune King into Lord Dominic's into Infinity with Master Yi. But I do have to say, I already saw the statistics on Master Yi, and I'm generally speaking shocked. Like, if you take a look at this real quick, on 14.25, we already see first item, crit 42%, 44%, 44%. And even if we go up to, wait, I'm going to go all ranks, so we have a higher sample size even on that. If you check it here, all ranks. Okay, so as you can see here, if we go first item, negative win rate 43, 47, 48, 44, 40, like it's all negative. If we look at a secondary item, if you look at crit again, 47, 49, it is just dog shit. 49, 49, and rage pitches is 55. Like, the sample size is also very high. It already you can already like kind of tell that crit is just not as good. Even on third item, if you check crit 55, 55, or 57, whilst rage rate has 60, 61, like on it is just still better. So the crit buffs did basically nothing. Okay, but Yi is also overall everywhere with 47% win rate. I do think though that people don't play him correctly, and I would put him around on A tier. You need to, this counts for every single champion I will talk about. Jungle in general is a role where if you play very well, you will get rewarded heavily. Jungle is all about efficiency, and you will notice that the strongest champions are usually the champions that are the most efficient. Master Yi is A tier, totally fine to play. You can pick him up. I would recommend to pick up champions from Z to B tier. If a champion is at Z tier and you're a one-trick pony, I would even recommend stopping the champion. Let's continue with Amumu. Amumu is not as strong right now as well. Still think he's a tank. He has decent CC. He has great setup with like ganks. He has a great gank setup. I highly recommend to gank a lane not only has setup like Nautilus, but more importantly, they have a burst and around a 60% burst. Then you want to gank and laner. Let's take Vel'Koz as an example. Vel'Koz has around 40 to 50% burst. So usually you don't have enough damage to kill the enemy. Whilst the Syndra with Q and E and W and another Q and an auto attack has usually around 60% burst. So that's way more interesting to gank as an Amumu. Okay? So Amumu we're gonna put at around 80 as well. I think he's very similarly strong than Master Yi. Has his weaknesses, but there are surely champions that are simply stronger than him. For example, Skarner, if we have our boy here. Skarner is still Z tier, absolutely broken. I would recommend to pick him up to literally print LP. He is too tanky. He deals way too much damage. The fact that you can get hard still early on and you can proc it very often is a complete joke. The ability that you can chain CC enemies while bursting them, giving tool for your team. You can peel your team very well with your abilities too. You are able to like you can get objectives very well, like Void Grubbies. you can invade pretty decently too because of your chain CC. Like, if you play Skarner, the only thing you have to do is just not play alone, like 1v1ing enemies. That is when you can fuck it up, because you do have enough damage to get 80% of the burst done, but you don't have enough damage to get 100% of the burst done in most situations alone. So if you just stand close to your team, it gets very easy. Okay, let's talk about Elise. Elise is, I was thinking last patch, one of the strongest junglers in the entire game right now. Needed the hotfix nerf, 100%. I would say she got nerfed, by the way, right now. I can show you the nerf on the Elise. Elise got nerfed just a tiny bit, base health from 650 to 620. I would still rate her at around S tier, but because, again, people don't know how to play her perfectly, she's on A tier. Keep in mind, the more mechanical a champion gets, or let's say, the more the champion can output, if not falling behind, the better you will go by playing the champion better. That means Elise is a very mechanical champion, so if you play her to an extent where, let's say, Hecarim or Kirei plays Elise, right? Then this champion is legitimately one of the most broken champions in the entire game, by far, right? On Master Yi, that's similar. Like, if I play Master Yi on a very high level and I'm not making a singular mistake, I can become an absolutely insanely big threat, right? Then my champion is again broken. And your tool, besides the tier list, is to find a way how you can make your particular champion look broken. And that is, as I explained it, perfectly in the fundamental jungle course, which is in the description. You need to find your champion first, then know all the specific strengths and weaknesses, remove those weaknesses, and enable the strengths to the absolute max. Or guess why Kirei is permanently invading with Narnia strategy with Elise? Why? Because that's exactly Elise her strength. Same with Bel'Veth. Bel'Veth is, in my opinion, underrated. I do believe she has great potential. Also, if you can do Narnia strategy with her, crazy good. You need to play cheesy. She can outfarm and outscale everyone if she's even to slightly in a snowball position. Bel'Veth is really hard to play from behind, though. That's one thing I really dislike, and where she does need some buffs also to get back when she's playing from behind. If your team is inting and you are behind, you will not able to play the game at all, which is even way worse than with other junglers. Like, let's say Sejuani, Skarner, Amumu, Jarvan, Elise, you will still have some sort of usefulness. With Bel'Veth, there's just none. Like, if your entire team is falling behind, you are falling behind, you can't play the game. That's why you should enable her strengths of she's invading, because she has 4 Qs, she can 1v1 every jungler, and going like the Narnia strategy. And then you can, with that snowball lead, basically you should be faster than enemy junglers and you shouldn't fall back into the game. Also important that you don't make a mistake on Bel'Veth. I'll put her on B tier. She's not that strong right now. I think she's probably B to A tier, B plus, A minus. But as I said, you need to play her really well, and she has a lot of weaknesses. And I think there are also better champions than her right now. But I mean, win rate wise, she's in a very good position. So I would probably put her A tier. Like, she's around A minus, B plus, I would say. Okay, talking about Brand. Brand used to be one of the strongest jungler. Right now, he's totally capable of doing all the things he wants to do. So he's around A tier, also totally fine. You can full clear very well with him. You can be very efficient. Keep in mind, jungling is all about efficiency. You can be efficient with Brand. You can provide for your team. You do have a stun. You do have a decent amount of burst. You can take objectives pretty well. My recommendation with Brand is that don't fall too much into skirmishes. Try to have a gameplay style where you just want to get the objectives, your full clears done, 1 or 2 sneaky plays, and then you will get such an insane advantage over the enemy jungler, because there are rarely junglers that can do the same. Like, let's take Udyr as an example. Where's our friend Udyr here? Here. Udyr is the exact same. Like, Udyr just got nerfed too, but Udyr is the exact same as Brand in terms of speed. The only difference is that with Udyr, you want to stat check everything. Big tip for Udyr players, and also a big tip for anyone who is playing against Udyr. Now, keep in mind, as an Udyr, you should fight everything. You should contest every objective. You should fight every jungler all the time, because you always win it. You are always stronger in the early games. And if you're playing against Udyr, let's say you're a Master Yi player and you don't like playing against Udyr, you need to accept that in a lot of situations you need to give up the objective, like Dragon or Grubbies, only if you have numbers advantage. And be careful of invades. You just want to avoid him because it's his specific strengths of cheesing you or fighting you in a 1v1. He wants to find you. If you avoided him correctly, it will be way easier. And in the late game, your strengths will be more like active on the map than his strengths, okay? That's usually the case because he was not able to use his strengths in the earlier game when you were avoiding him correctly. Okay, Hecarim. Hecarim is around B tier. I think Hecarim is too weak. I don't see too many Hecarims. He is very fast. He's very fast. But he also deals a decent amount of damage, but he's very squishy. No matter how you buy him, build with him. I personally think that on Hecarim, if you play him well, like also with the other champions, you can make him work and you can become very fast. But on Hecarim, you need to find a lead. With that lead, you will be unstoppable, also in the late game. With Udyr, you will eventually fall off again in the late game if there are other champions that do outscale you. Hecarim will not. Hecarim will also be very useful in the middle to the late game, but you need to find a way to get us early lead in, and with Udyr, that's, for example, way easier. So Udyr is basically a better version of Hecarim in my opinion right now. Okay, let's talk about Jax jungle. Jax jungle is around B tier. I don't think it's too strong. It's pretty much overrated, but it is a great counter pick. Same with Gwen. Gwen and Jax, B tier is not only like the weak tier, it's also a good counter pick tier. You can see it like this, like because Gwen and Jax are both not the greatest junglers, but if you put them in the right counter picks, like let's say Gwen against Dr. Mundo, Jax against Master Yi, it can also be S tier and really hard to deal with, okay? And if you do pick it as counter pick, you also want to contest the enemy jungler. Same with Rengar against Master Yi. Rengar right now, by the way, is also around S to A tier. I would put him next to Master Yi. He's very similar. I think he's a tiny bit stronger, probably S minus, A plus, around that. Because on Rengar, you can clear very fast. I would recommend to also watch Natty's Net, the best Rengar player on the server. He is so extremely efficient, and it's a big challenge for me to get to his speed, just because his champion is just from nature way faster, okay? Again, there's a lot of things you can fuck it up on Rengar. There are a lot of ways, so if you want to pick up Rengar yourself, if you want to find that champion and become extraordinarily good on him, then again, watch those good players like Nadinet. If you want to pick up Elise, watch Kirei. If you want to get better on Bel'Veth, watch my streams as an example, okay? And for example, for Udyr, Den, Suju, Camille, like again, all those champions, as I mentioned, these are the perfect, like this A and B tier is usually the best tier list to tell you guys, okay, in this tier list, if you play those champions well, all those champions can be Z and S. Like, that's the cool thing about League of Legends, is that you can make basically everything work. Same for Dr. Mundo. Nadinet also plays Dr. Mundo in the jungle, which is considered weak, win rate-wise also weak, but it is actually strong if, again, because it's his baby and A tier, played like Nadinet plays him, right? He is getting his CS done. He's playing for his scaling. Mundo is an insane scaling. 2 to 3 items. You will start to one-shot people. Mundo is a great counter pick if you play against an enemy team comp that doesn't have percentage damage and only has burst. I'll give an example. You play against Lee Sin. Great Dr. Mundo game, right? If you play against Poppy. Great Dr. Mundo game. But if you play against Master Yi, if you play against... let's say a red Kayn. If you play against Kindred, it's a terrible Mundo game, right? So it's also a great counter pick. It can be a very situational pick. Let's not only say counter pick. Like BT is not only counter pick, it's also situational picks. And Dr. Mundo, fantastic situational pick if you play against a tank that will never kill you. Let's say the enemy is lock Rammus. Like, what is Rammus gonna do against Dr. Mundo? But what is Rammus gonna do against Master Yi, right? Like, you already see how the game should be going and how it's gonna go. So, a champion pool wise, you can also have a like, let's say champion pool where you play one champion out of those to the extraordinary insane level. Let's say you get it to the S tier, like Bel'Veth, we take it as an example. And then you also have Dr. Mundo, where you partly play against tanks. That is, by the way, exactly what my friend Natty Nat is doing. I can show you here real quick. If I look here, I'm ranked 39, actually. I'm I'm actually not 25 as I thought earlier. Netinet is currently ranked 4, doing fantastic. Look at his champion pool. Rengar, Dr. Mundo, Secondary, and Skarner. Who would have thought? Why? Skarner Z tier, his Rengar gets to S tier, his Dr. Mundo is a fantastic counter pick. Like, it's not that complicated. Ezreal, Janna against those two, both of them cannot kill Mundo very well. Like, you can break it down to that, okay? But if you're one-trick pony Mundo and you play it against Vayne Master Yi Gwen, I mean, of course it's gonna be garbage, right? Of course it's gonna be Z to D tier even. Okay, let's talk about Kindred. Kindred is, I think, a great champion. I wouldn't rate her E tier. She does not deserve to be in the same tier as here. She's around B tier, but she is better than Hecarim. So she's around next to B and A. I could partially put all of them up here and put the Kindred down, but you already got the point of the tier list. So I would put Kindred around a B+. Also recommend here Kirei, his videos. Check out his YouTube. He did unranked to Challenger with Kindred. And he's also gonna post that on YouTube. Great video, also a lot you can learn and take away from that. Now, let's talk about Sejuani. Sejuani is basically the weak version of Skarner. She's B tier, not as a counter pick, she's garbage. She's garbage in comparison to what Skarner can do. She's, as I said, just a weak version. Same with Rammus. Both of them, they are not as strong as other tank junglers should be. Let me see if there's a better tank jungler. Let's say Volibear. Volibear is, in my opinion, also actually very underrated. I think Volibear is a great jungler. Let's check his win rate real quick. Would also be interested in that. Oh, boom. I check it. Instantly shows for 51% win rate. Let's go down. 51, S. Yeah, I would have. Oh, that was top lane. Let me check if jungle is the same. Jungle is a little bit below that. Okay, jungle diamond, it's pretty low. Gold, it's around 8 here. Platinum, it's pretty low actually. Okay, it's 50%. Okay, but as I said, I believe Volibear is underrated. And Volibear is not as tanky as Sejuani, but still tanky enough. And you can get your Q off in most situations. And right now the meta is in a way where APs have enough damage if you at least get the stun off. So let's say you're playing with a Syndra, with an Aurora, and you're doing one combo with Volibear. They are gonna kill the enemy very easily. That's why I would put Volibear on S tier. But because, as I see, his win rates are not that high, I didn't know about this, we can put him around A tier as well. Totally fine. So which jungler is now on S tier? I do believe that Nocturne is very strong right now, especially on lower elo. Also underrated. There are some people who go Ionian Boots and Hexblade, and some people that go Stripebreaker into Hexblade, into Ionian Boots. The reason for going Ionian Boots and Hexblade early and also Ultimate Hunter is to have your ult up very soon. I think it's a mistake. I have played a decent amount of Nocturne and I have played both builds. I think Stripebreaker first is a necessary act on Nocturne. You have to go Stripebreaker first. And then I would recommend to go Hexblade into, at best, Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage, something tanky, okay? You don't want to go full damage on Nocturne. You want to go something tanky afterwards. Okay, Ekko, also very underrated jungler. I think Ekko is not S tier, not at all, but I can put him on A tier as well. He is similarly strong than Brand. Diana is 100%. There we go. Diana's S tier and Viego is also Z tier. I'm going to talk about them in 1 second. Okay, there we go. I got the S tier. I found them. I have the S tier champion. So Ekko is similar than Brand, and Diana is the better version of Brand and Ekko because she's faster, stronger. Her build path of Nash's Tooth into Rabadon's into Zhonya's is perfect for the meta. You deal an insane amount of damage. Only thing you should keep in mind is Diana is not good into every comp. There's a lot of comps. Like, let's say you play against Skarner Leona. How are you going to play this as Diana? Skarner Janna. How are you going to play this as Diana? While it's on Ekko and Brand, you can outplay it. So Diana is stronger than Brand and Ekko, but she is indeed more situational than those. So if you are, let's say, a very good Nocturne player, and you also want to play Diana, and you play Nocturne around 70% of the games, and 30% only when Diana is good at Diana, and you play her well, that's insanely good. I wouldn't recommend to one-trick Diana jungle. I actually wouldn't do it, even though she's S tier. I would consider to go for, probably best is a 2-trick. Like Diana and another champion, as I said earlier. Okay, next thing we talk about. Briar as a jungler, I would not recommend. The problem with Briar is that she has one engage tool, and she does have a little bit of disengage with her E, but it is not enough. She also gets damage reduction and stuff, but it's not enough. And I think that other junglers are simply better than her. I'll put her on D tier because I just wouldn't recommend to pick her up. It's that simple. She can work. You can go full crazy with her. You can go full 1v9. The problem I see here, though, is that that's it. With other junglers, you would do the same, just better. Like, compare Briar jungle with Graves jungler. What would you rather have? And there comes the next part, Graves jungle. Graves jungle is A tier, close to S tier. He also got nerfed right now, so that's why we cannot put him on S tier. But as I said, Graves, he deals too much damage. Like, compare the damage with Briar and Graves. Graves wants to snowball, and once Graves is snowballing, he wants to skirmish. Why? Because auto attack Q, you half HP. GG! Like, who else does that? Does Gwen EQ? Then she already all in, right? Does an Udyr, he ults and runs in, but already all ins, right? A Graves can do auto Q, E away. Auto W, auto ult. And it gets so quick that you die, right? His burst and his tools of engaging and disengage are so quick in and out. And that's why Graves is one of the strongest junglers right now, also putting at A tier. Lee Sin is also underrated in my opinion. I would put him very similar to Graves. Great situational pick, great counter pick. Wouldn't recommend to one trick. It's also interesting, very similar to Diana. If you play Lee Sin and you play against Dr. Mundo, Skarner, Sejuani, all these things I talked about earlier, like, then you're also gonna have troubles because your ult and your damage is just non-existent against those. And then you also kind of struggle of having a real job. Because on Lee Sin, if you play against champions like a Brand, champions like Master Yi, you have jobs. You can kill the Brand. You can peel for your ADC. You can play like an assassin. You can play like a front to backler. But against Skarner, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna peel your ADC just from the Skarner? And usually Skarner still gets his ult off. Is that your job? Can you kill the Skarner? Can you play front to back? Like, you basically lose your job against certain team comps. Okay, Evelynn, sad to see. She's Z tier. I'm a big Evelynn enjoyer in game, of course, and she needs a small buff. I don't want her necessarily to be buffed because she's very annoying to play against. Regardless, she doesn't deal enough damage. Like, the other AP junglers are simply better, and I would even recommend to put Gwen above Evelynn. So I just wouldn't recommend to pick up Evelynn, not only to learn it. Even if you're a one-trick pony, I don't think she's in the greatest spot. Like, we can check her win rates right now real quick too. Like, it's no matter where you check, like Z tier, Master Plus, D tier, 40, like, it's full on garbage, right? Like, I wouldn't even touch this champion ever, right? B tier, Z tier, D, like, I don't think it's worth it touching, right? It's worth touching other champions, of course, again in game. Okay, let's continue with the beautiful next champion, Morgana. Morgana is the exact same as Brand. Brand was the champion that people got to play all the time, whilst Morgana is the exact same and pretty much underrated. There's also one high-elo challenger player named Chris, who is a one-trick pony Morgana jungle. You can check out his VODs, for example, on the league. Like, by the way, just as a tip, if you are, like, what I would recommend you to do, like, find those best players. Go to the, like, for example, Netinet, right? You copy his name and you do check out his VODs. Like, you copy it here, you get an EO West client, for example, if he's from EO West, and you just watch the games he plays, watch his VODs. But okay, what did he specifically do differently? And if you say, yeah, I would have done this, I would have done this, I would have done this too, yeah. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't do that, what Netinet does on his Rengar, right? I wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. So in fact, you wouldn't. So there's a lot of things you do differently. Find those and compare it and copy paste more of what he is doing. And the same thing goes for every other champion. And for each and every champion, they are the pros. I play a lot of Viego right now. The current rank 1 is playing a lot of Viego. Like, there's so much to copy paste. Okay, Nunu, we're gonna put on Z tier 2. Also, I think slightly too weak. I've seen some Nunu players in high elo here and there. We can potentially argue he could be a situational pick. Indeed, I just think Nunu is not as strong. I think his entire kit, his entire abilities are all too slow. Like, it's way too easy to read. It is way too obvious what Nunu is about to do, and way too easy to counter, basically. And also, like, he has his little bit of burst and damage, and then this champion just walks around in a circle like Kesha with his mad donut, right? And that's it. There's nothing more about it. Kayn also, I feel like the champion is fine. The problem with Kayn is, like, fine, too weak. The problem with Kayn is he has no job either. Blue Kayn is shit. Red Kayn is shit. What is this, right? Other champions are, again, simply stronger. I would say that Kayn needs a tiny buff, not a big buff, a tiny buff, so we can put him at A tier. And then, again, the one-trick ponies and the really good Kayns, Kayn main, can make the champion strong, situational, counter pick, beautiful. But right now, if I was a Kayn player, I would just cry and move on to the next champion, because I wouldn't enjoy this at all. Since you have the same situation as with other champions, that there are just champions out there that are stronger. Like, it's just that simple. You can do fantastic Kayn game, congratulations, but if you play Graves, you would just deal more damage. And in the end, it's all about, did you deal more damage? Did you win the fight because of you killing them, dealing damage? Did you end the game right now? I guess about that. Okay, let's get to Jarvan. And next beautiful champion here we have. Jarvan, I say, is around A tier. Not as strong as he used to be. Around 1 year ago, he was legitimately one of the strongest jungler in the entire game. He's like falling off a tiny bit. Riot Game will have him on this radar one day and give him a small buff or item changes, and boom, you will see him everywhere again. I like it. I think the champion itself is a beautiful creation. You can play really well with him. You have a lot of skills. Enemies can outplay Jarvan well. Again, you can outplay the enemies very well. You can jungle decently. You can peel. You can play like an assassin. I think the champion itself is a beautiful creation. Same with Rengar, same with Viego, same with Ekko, same with Kayn. I think Riot Games just made so many champions. We gotta respect that, guys. Riot Games made so many champions that are extraordinary fun to play, and they're counterable. Like, you can't play against them unless like a zillion top lane where they just gonna bomb the wave twice, and how can play, right? But these champions do have counterplay, and I love it. I really love it. Now, Olaf is sadly too weak. Olaf is not a good jungler right now. Again, other champions are stronger. If you play Olaf jungle, you need to go full damage, and you need to play Narnia strategy 24/7, because level 1, you're just stronger than enemies. You want to invade, late invade, play extremely cheesy. At best, invade his chickens level 1, and then take his red buff. Take his entire jungle, reset, take your side, like, take everything from him. Try to find the enemy jungler and kill him. You need to be in a snowball position. If you just go even with Olaf, like, it's the same thing again. Like, let's say you go even with a Master Yi. Who's gonna win in the late game? Who is gonna 1v5, like, who's gonna win the team fight? Olaf? Surely not, right? Compared with Volibear. Volibear is gonna flash Q on your mid laner. Okay, what is Volibear is gonna flash Q on your mid laner? What is Olaf gonna do? Flash Q on your mid laner? Like, usually that doesn't kill your mid laner. Aurora just presses W, right? But is Aurora gonna press W into Volibear flash Q? Insta stun? Or she Ws and then Volibear flash Q? Right? Usually Volibear has enough damage to burst the down with the CC, while the Olaf slow is just slightly not enough. That's the point I'm trying to get you, okay? Now, Qiyana is not a good jungler as well. Also around Z tier, Evelynn is stronger than those other 3 picks. But actually, Nunu and Evelynn are stronger than Olaf and Qiyana. But yeah, Qiyana is just not a good jungler right now. In general, Qiyana's in a rough position. There are a few high-elo Qiyana one-tricks, and all of them complain, right? It already says a lot about the champion, which I'm generally happy for, because the fact that the Qiyana can 100 to 0 one-shot you while she is in stealth, while stunning you, while knock-upping you, and hitting you against the wall in-game and IRL, then I don't know if this is even legit. Okay, Mordekaiser, interesting jungle, by the way. I love playing Mordekaiser. Sadly, it's too slow. Like, compared with Udyr, Udyr is just faster. It's just faster in every single aspect. But if Mordekaiser was faster in the jungle, it would be such a cool champion, because the ult, also cool creation for Riot Games, the ult getting into another realm with Mordekaiser is such a cool thing to do. Like, think about it. It's such a cool thing to do. You gank a lane, and you just take the lane away. It's beautiful, right? While your lane already pushes out the lane. I love playing it myself. And if it gets strong into the jungle, I will also pick it up myself. Also, Mordekaiser is usually pretty strong in skirmishes, especially when you're level 6. Like, which skirmish are you gonna lose? You can always ult one of them. Let's say the support helps you, a Rakan W's you, right? You just ult the Rakan, and usually your team is getting in position. Like, your Nautilus is then has more time to get to the play while you're fighting the Rakan 1v1. Okay, Neeko is around B tier, around the same stage as Kayn. I do think that Morgana and Brand and Ekko are both all three just better than Neeko again here in the jungle, have more opportunities. Neeko is a very cheesy jungler though. Against champions that have no dashes like Jhin, Jinx, she can be a wonderful pick in the jungle, even better than Morgana, because Morgana, it doesn't really matter if they have too many dashes. You need to play it still very consistent, I would just say, if that makes sense for you. And on Neeko, if the enemies have a lot of dashes, your entire champion doesn't work optimally. Like, let's say they have Lucian and you play Neeko. Lucian is usually has it not that hard on dodging all your abilities, right? Okay, Shaco is underrated. I think Shaco is around on the same level as Master Yi. There's one Shaco one trick, Shaq Step, right now in Challenger Elo, doing fantastic, playing tank Shank right now. He also told me that he doesn't think that Shaco is that strong right now. He does play really well. I also think that Shaco has some troubles here and there, but let's be honest, like, Jarvan also has some troubles here and there, Volibear too, Morgana too, right? I think he's perfectly fine here in this place. And again, probably a little bit below Master Yi in strength. But you need to keep in mind that Master Yi, I rate him always a little bit higher, because for me it's extremely easy to 1v9 in every single elo, right, with Master Yi. So that's why for me this champion also always seems a little bit too strong. Maybe Master Yi is also around B tier, I would probably say, yeah. I'm gonna put him here though. Sylas jungle, very situational pick, sadly too weak. If the enemies pick Malphite and your last pick, then just go for Sylas. Good situational, like, Sylas is the best pick into Malphite by far from all the counters, right? August said that there's no better counter pick in entire League of Legends than Sylas into Malphite. Like, that's a good counter. I also had a coaching client, Mr. Crisis. He is taking Sylas on the next level, always playing Sylas jungle. Very interesting, very fun, very fun. Again, way too slow in comparison to Morgana again. Way too slow. And again, great counter pick, but in mid lane, top lane, he is just better off. Even on support, he is better off than in jungle, because on jungle, you need a real carry. Okay, Talia is a better version. Again, a little bit weaker than Brand Morgana. With Talia, very important. If you enjoy Talia, that's good. She's not as strong as she used to be. That's fine. There are some good Talia one tricks like Odysseus. Also totally fine. You can pick him, check him out as well. Now, with Qiyana, with Talia, you want to have setup like Nautilus, like Blitzcrank. You do need to have some source of where you can get your W and your stun from. If you play with a Soraka or a Zona, Talia is gonna be pretty useless, and I wouldn't recommend to pick her. That's very important to say. If you have a top laner like Kled, it's interesting. If you have a top laner like Cho'Gath, also interesting. If you have a top laner like Dr. Mundo, don't pick Talia. It won't do anything, okay? There are better champions, better AP versions. Nidalee is a little bit weaker. You can probably put her in B tier as well. I think that Nidalee is a little bit too squishy for what she does. Like also for the Narnia strategy, like Elise is simply better than Nidalee. So I'm gonna put her on B tier, probably like a B plus, A minus. But she isn't really stronger than Kindred. Kindred is almost on the same page. Same with Hecarim. So she perfectly fits into the B tier here as well. On Nidalee, you need to legitimately permanently invade, because if you just farm, you usually get outscaled by almost every single jungler. So that's one big tip I can give you if you're a Nidalee enthusiast. Gregor's broken champion, both on top lane, both on mid lane, also in jungle. He is in general a broken champion in the jungle. You can just go full AP. Usually you are a tiny bit under-leveled in comparison to if you are top lane Gregors, which leads to you having less HP, which leads to you just dying too quickly. That's why he's also around the B tier. I'm going to put him next to the Jax. Rek'Sai, too weak right now. Rek'Sai also does 100% need a small buff. I'm going to put him on B tier. He is still situational. You can get very good level 3 ganks off. In invading, she is a little bit too weak. She's fine in invading, but she doesn't have enough damage to 100 to 0 someone, whilst Lee Sin and Elise usually do have, right? So on Rek'Sai, the problem is because you cannot invade all the time, you can only go for nice ganks. Volibear is again just a better version, in my opinion. Shyvana is too weak right now, does also need a buff. Since she got nerfed to the ground, she is basically still struggling down there. And that's all I want to share with her right now. Okay, so Poppy, that now it gets also very crazy. Poppy is a champion despite I don't want to see her, because of all her abilities of being a little annoying little piggy, right? That's exactly her job. So I would say Poppy is one of the best counter picks against champions like Bel'Veth or Jarvan. Absolutely fantastic. If you can play Poppy, I don't think it's too easy to play Poppy well. I think it's pretty hard, knowing all the damage outputs and the walls where you should engage, what you should be doing perfectly. It's actually pretty hard in my opinion. If you can pick her up to an extent where you're really comfortable with, I think that you should do it as counter pick and play her also, like I said earlier, like 30 to 40% of the games, Diana or Poppy. In that sense, okay? So, Teemo jungle, we all love it. Boxer, Charles, the Teemo players, we all love it. Or Manko, my friend, the Teemo enthusiast. I don't like Teemo too much. I don't like the idea. It's so annoying playing against all those shrooms. He's totally fine in the jungle. You can for sure pick him up. I can also make a Teemo guide in the future if you are looking forward to that as well. Absolutely no problem. Xin Zhao is a little bit underrated even. I think Xin Zhao is a great jungler, for sure an A tier. I also saw the rank 1 player playing a decent amount of Xin Zhao, and I also played some games of Xin Zhao. I haven't played too much, like just 12 games here. The same win rate as my Master Yi. I also think that Xin is very strong. I played him in a very unique style with Kraken first, which is not, I mean, you don't see it, right? Kraken into Sandra Sky into Titanic Hydra. It's a very unique style, which I really enjoy myself. But as I said, you don't need to go for it. You can also go the casual Xin Zhao build. I could also give you the consideration of going Titanic Hydra as first item. Great champion. The good thing about Xin Zhao is that you have the consistency of getting your abilities off. That's the good thing. Like, let's say you're playing Lee Sin. You can miss your Q, you can miss your E, right? With Xin Zhao, you E someone, it's already through. You already hit him with your E. You auto attack, cancel the auto attack animation with another auto attack, boom, with your Q, right? It's already through the ability. And now you do another auto attack, the third auto attack, boom, already through. If they walk away, let's say they're fighting you. Okay, we have this exact example that they are fighting you. You get your Q off, and then you hit your W with a 100% accuracy. Boom, get all your abilities off, hit everything. And that's the consistency in his abilities kit, right? And that's really precise and really fucking good. Why I would rate him also around 8 here. Now, let's continue. I want to talk about Talon. Talon is around B tier. Constanza plays him in Challenger Elo. He climbs also to top 10. He, luckily for us, got a nerf in this patch too. He got a nerf in. Yeah. He does a little bit less damage to the monsters because probably Riot Games doesn't want him to see in the jungle. So Riot Games is thinking the same as me. I don't want to see this champion in the jungle. Why? Because all he can do is just farm up, and he is very fast. It's like an Udyr who farms everything very quickly, but he doesn't want to fight you like Udyr wants to fight you. So basically, if the Talon plays it well, like Chaos Dancer, you will never see him. He will just do his thing, and boom, he's 40 stairs ahead of you, and he one-shots you. And I think this gameplay is very... I don't like it too much. I think this gameplay is very... let's say, it's not active enough for me. I want it to be a little bit fighting here, a little bit contesting there, right? I want it to be more like that. With Talon, you're just waiting for the team to be helping you, and then you do this and that. You consume a little bit from this... consume a little bit here, and it's just so annoying to deal with, I would say. Vi, very strong jungler, but again, not as strong as other champions like Viego, Skarner, Nocturne, Diana. They're all just stronger. Her chain CC and her damage and her burst is highly enough to be way better than all the champions below her. Regardless, she does have some weaknesses that after her engage with Q and ult, she doesn't have anything anymore. She is in the fight, there's no disengage, she doesn't have more than that, and she has a very decent amount of the burst with the Q, auto attack E, ult, auto attack E, auto attack Q. Like, it's decent amount of burst, and you have a lot of abilities to play with her, but after that, you are just a champion that is about to die soonish. With Jarvan, it's a bit different because you get your abilities up sooner. You have another knock up. You can knock up enemies while disengaging. With Vi, you get in or out. And you don't have any source of poke or anything besides that. But again, she's very fine here in this position. Let's talk about Viego because I skipped him earlier. Okay, Viego. My beloved Viego. Such a cool champion. I've played him now a very decent amount of games, and I love playing Viego. So cool. You can play him. You can play all the other champions you would never touch in ranked. You can just play them because you pick up their soul. The champion is legit heavily broken right now. You can pick him up and print LP. I think he for sure needs a nerf. If he doesn't get nerfed, if Riot Games like it the way he is, then you should start to main him to, like, I legit say it because he's so much fun. He's so strong. He doesn't have too many weaknesses because he has so many strengths. You can play the Narnia strategy with Viego. You can cover your team with Viego. You can play like an assassin. You can play for objectives. You can play slow and just scaling and farming. I just want to add here that Viego is not the perfect scaling champion. In the very late game, if enemies are scaling too, they can one-shot you. Viego is the strongest in the early mid game, where he has a first or secondary item, and then there's a lot of skirmish. That's where Viego wants to be. That's his nature. So in the beginning he's strong, in the early mid game he gets pretty strong, in the mid game he gets very strong, and in the late game he slowly falls off. Like you can see it like this. Like here's the strength of a champion, right? Here's the strength of a champion, and here's the time duration. Okay, X is the time duration. Y is the strength of the champion. Viego is around this, so he's one of the strongest champions, and he gets consistently stronger. Like now he hit 1 or 2 items, he's at his strongest point, and now he's slowly falling off until the duration of the game goes on, and at one point he will just be useless in comparison to what other champions can do. That's exactly Viego his scaling. Other champions are completely different, but because of that, and because a game shouldn't last too long, Viego's also broken right now. Now let's talk about Zyra here in this position. Zyra is... Again, this is the exact same as Brand and Morgana. Totally fine to pick up. Very cool and unique. She's actually faster than Brand and Morgana on her clear, and totally fine to play. I would say she's around the same as Nidalee. As Zyra, I just want to say that be careful that you don't get caught all the time. Same with Talia. Big tip for Zyra and Talia: do not get caught all the time, because you don't have any disengage tools. Nothing. With Talia, at least you can ult out. You can wait for skilling your ult and then ult out. With Zyra, you can't do anything. The moment you miss your E, you're out. You're gone. So try to stay close to your support. Again, if you have a Nautilus hooks for you, and then you EWWQ and kill this guy, right? And they try to kill you, the Nautilus will be protecting you. Wukong, the most disgusting champion in the entire game from creation from Riot Games. Whoever created this, I wasn't there. I decided this to happen, is also extraordinarily strong. You could even say Wukong is around S tier. Why is he around S tier? Because he has 2 point-and-click CC knockup where you cannot even buy mercs or anything against it, while Tenacity is useless against it, while he has 3 Qs, like he can Q ult, W, auto attack Q, ult, auto attack Q, like he has so much burst, so much damage from that, like this amount of DPS. His clear is way too slow. That's the only negative he has. That's the only reason why you can put him on A tier. He's great teamfight champion in a game in general where the meta's around teamfight. He can peel very well. You can catch ADCs very well. You can deny the enemy jungler very well. So he has great opportunities. I will put him around A plus S minus here in this position. Yeah, I think A is a better tier to put him probably. Yeah, this is probably better. Nafari is not a great jungler. Wouldn't recommend to pick her up. Never seen her. I have no idea about Nafari. Can't put my opinion on her that much right now. But I highly assume she's just a better mid laner. Like, it's I highly assume. Otherwise, for sure, would have seen her number somewhere. I'm going to check the win rate for you real quick. Here, Nafari has in the mid laner a 47% win rate. In the jungle, she hasn't been played at all. She did get played. Has around 48% win rate. It's actually pretty better than I expected it. If we check at all ranks, yeah, she's probably fine, but I'm gonna put her in D tier just also because I don't know the champion right now. Okay, Pantheon jungle, totally fine, but for sure not stronger than Nunu or Evelynn. That's simple. Pantheon is again a better top laner. He has a decent disengage tool. He has a fine engage tool. The problem with Pantheon is he doesn't have enough damage. He has a decent poke on the top lane with QQQQQ, right? In the jungle, if you face him in a 1v1, he usually is able to get around 50% of your health. And that's it. Then he has cooldowns, right? And that's it. There's a team fight. In team fighting, he's actually very weak in the jungle because other junglers like Viego just can do way more in a team fight. Viego can get his combo off, get his resets, then get another abilities, boom, get his combo off again. Like Pantheon will get one combo off, deal like, let's say, 1,500 damage in this team fight, and then maybe another combo doing another 1,000 damage, right? And that's it. Jarvan, on the other hand, will EQ, auto attack, ult someone else, Q back to the flag, auto attack. Like, it's different. With Pantheon, you can W, auto attack Q, and E away, and then maybe you shoot a Q, but that's about it. That's why he's not that strong in the jungle and better off the top lane, because the jungler's job is more of being the consistent fighter, like Wukong, like Bel'Veth, like Brand, Jarvan, and so on. Zac is a very good tank. I would say he's for sure better than Sejuani right now. Also think that Zac is kind of underrated, but just not that popular in the jungle. I think that Zac is probably one of the greatest tanks next to Skarner. Really strong. Would recommend to pick him up, learn him. There are also some great one-trick ponies like Engage playing Zac, and I think the champion is also very cool and also kind of mechanical, picking up the blobs at the same, like very consistently all the time. Okay, now we are starting to get to the champions here on down there. So it's let's talk about Zed now. Let's talk about Zed. Zed is fine jungle. You get his stuff ahead. You get your stuff. And you will be on your own very well. The problem is just that jungle is not the role where you should be only on your own. Even with Master Yi, you're not selfish only. You can always do something for the team. With Zed, you cannot really. Like, you can do objectives pretty well, but you cannot 1v1 anyone pretty much throughout the entire game. Like, maybe like in the mid game, level 11, on your second ult point, you can start to 1v1 people very easily. But until level 8, level 5, 100%, right? You're not gonna kill anyone. Like, how is a level 5 Zed ever gonna kill a level 5 Nidalee? Just as an example, right? And Zed needs to get his level done, so he can't really contest any objectives. In the late game, he can't peel for your ADC. He has no heal, he has no CC. And these things are just way too overwhelming. Like, having no CC and no HP as a jungler, same with Masi, you have no CC and no HP, it's a big problem. And even if you can pick up one enemy, that's not enough. That's it. You killed one guy. Congratulations. You're still useless, right? With Master Yi, you can at least kill multiple enemies, right? And then have a use case. Warwick, I think he just got some patch notes in too, as far as I remember. Yeah, he did. His I got a buff on his Q, small nerf on his base stats. And he immediately gets his W, and it's 2 seconds of the duration. Okay, Warwick, I think the patch didn't change too much. Warwick is totally fine in the jungle, especially in lower elo. He is around A tier. I would rate him around B tier right now. Actually, probably he fits better at A tier if I think about it. Like, is he better than Zac? Probably not. I will put him next to Hecarim here. In lower elo, he's better because people don't know how to play around his E perfectly. And I can give you a tip here if you're struggling against Warwick. Just focus on his E ability. Like, the moment he doesn't get his fear off, after his Q, he can only do auto attacks. And if you kite him very well, if you play with cooldowns, Gregor's E with abilities, Wukong ult, Elise, repel, like stun, it's really hard for the Warwick to play the game. That's why he's not that favored in the high elo, even though there are also some one trick like Xulo, Xullow. Also very interesting Warwick player. It does work. As I said, even high elo he's B tier, and low elo he's for sure stronger. Shen jungle is just not that strong because his ult has too high cooldown. Even if he gets his ult off, it's not always that strong. It's a fine counter pick, but he is just too slow again in comparison. And you will notice, as I said earlier in the tier list, it's all about efficiency. Like, look, compare these champions with those champions. Just compare it right now in your brain and think, who is gonna be faster doing their clear down, their objectives, getting ganks off, after the gank immediately going back into enemy jungle, invading. Like, who is faster on that? And boom, even though some champions here are very strong and very beautiful to play, you just know that they are 10 times faster, and you already have it in Imagined. Beautiful. Let's talk about Karthus. A little bit about Cactus. He used to be a bit stronger both on ADC and in the jungle. Right now he is fine in the jungle, but I think he gets outclassed by all the other mages. Regardless, he is fine to play, and if you play him really fast, then you can get very nice and cheesy invades in, and you can get a very insane CS advantage, from which you get an XP advantage, from which you get an item advantage because you're stronger. And if you get a level 11, level 16 ult, especially when the enemies don't have Soraka, Seraphine, this champion can still be an absolute insanely big threat. Regardless, I think I personally would rather have a brand Morgana in the jungle than a Karthus. Okay, Maokai jungle, again, too slow. He's around Z tier. He doesn't even belong in B tier just because he's too slow. He has his CC, but the other tanks we have here, Dr. Mundo, let's talk about the CC tanks, Zac, Skarner, they're just better. Straight up. Volibear, it's just better. Trundle is, again, dealing decent damage. It doesn't provide the job from a jungler perfectly. He can take objectives, he can split push well, but he can't really teamfight properly in comparison to another jungler. He can't really peel for his ADC perfectly if, like I said, tries to one-shot him. And he is not really the biggest tank if we compare it to Zac again, because Zac at least has CC, which also protects himself. So again, Trundle is also around Z tier. Lilia is very strong right now. Could potentially be S tier, but I think she's A tier right now. Haven't seen her too often in the recent days. I don't think she got too much changes off. Lilia is having pretty rough time. Win rate is not that high. Platinum, it's around gold, 50%, 50%. Yeah, I can show you too. 47% gold, 50% silver, 51% diamond, 46 if we click at all ranks. It's 50. As you can see, A tier. She is for sure A tier. She is fine to play, but she's better than Talia also. As you know, Talia is more of a counter pick. And Lilia is also a very interesting Narnia pick. Like Kirei would also recommend him watching here, playing Lilia, going for very interesting invades. Fine to play, very strong, great opportunities. Probably, like, she has been strong for a very long time. She is still very, very strong. for sure in the same tier as all of them, and if played correctly, absolutely, if not broken, but not as strong as those 4 champions, of course. Diana is the only one who could potentially not fit into those 4 champions, the broken ones, okay? Just saying. Kha'Zix, B tier. I think Kha'Zix is not as strong as he used to be. Probably B plus into A minus, since he still has a decent amount of damage. It's just slightly not enough to be in the A tier, to be a big threat you need to be scared of. Like, think about it. Kha'Zix used to be one of the biggest E counters. Right now, I'm not even scared playing against the Kha'Zix because I know he probably won't deal enough damage to 100 to 0 me, whilst a Graves can, and Graves used to be a good matchup for you. Right now, it's just he deals more damage than me. It's a hard matchup because of that. Ivern, very cheesy pick. I think underrated. I don't see too many Iverns, which confuses me. Probably because in high elo there are not too many. I think Ivern is totally fine to play. He is 100% at the same tier as all of them. He is next to Warwick. Absolute fine champion to pick off. A great enchanter, great peeler. Fulfills the job of a jungler. Can peel absolutely extraordinary well. Is good in skirmishes. Can play very cheesy. Great champion to pick up. And one-trick pony, by the way. Great one-trick pony champion. And really cool to certain team comps. That's all I want to say with Ivern. As I said, he's very fine to pick up. Has some weaknesses, has some strengths. He's not broken at all. He is not weak at all. Okay. Fiddlesticks is fine, but too slow, and most of the times too easy to read. Like, when he's about to ult, people respect it a little bit, and the entire use case of the champion is way low, whilst other champions like Gwen, even if you know what she's doing, still is a threat. And the last champion here, we have a Rumble. Rumble right now is simply not one of the best junglers in the game. Again, all the other, like, it's usually the same answer, and it's so funny. It's actually beautiful to think about because it just showcases exactly what I teach. It's all about efficiency. He is just not as fast as an Udyr, as a Brand, as a Lilia. Like, compare Rumble with Lilia. Like, you know, Lilia is just gonna be quicker on everything she does. She can take grubbies faster. She can take her chickens faster. She has way more mobility. She's fast on a gank. And the big problem on Rumble, of course, is he has no real CC. He only has slow. He has a decent burst, but usually that's not enough for a gank. And especially he has no disengage, which leads to enemies having it very easy to counter gank him. Okay? So if you play against Rumble, try to find counter ganks. Try to find catches on him, maybe. He has no disengage. He only has 1 W shield. He's very squishy. Before he gets Zhonya's, of course, I would recommend to find a catch. And yeah, that is the entire tier list. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe. Really would help me out here. I can do more of these tier lists if you enjoy it. We can do this on the patches, on a new season as well. And put it in the comments. What do you think about it? Have a wonderful remaining day. Much love and goodbye, my friends.